The Standard's editor-in-chief will be joining us live. Also, today is the city of San Francisco's birthday. The city by the Bay officially became a city on April 15th, 172 years ago. We'll look at the history and fun ways to celebrate. Travel blogger Stuart Shuffman will share some ideas. But first, major news. The CDC authorizes the first ever breath test for COVID. The Pfizer data giving hope to parents with kids under 5. And the BA.2 variant marches across the country, even as we get ready to celebrate several holidays this weekend. Here with us now to talk about the latest and answer your questions is ABC 7 News special correspondent, Dr. Alok Patel. Dr. Patel, happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday to you and happy 172nd birthday to our beautiful city.
Right. It doesn't look a day over 171, right? All right.
Not at all, yeah.
All right. Well, one way to celebrate is to do two truths and a lie because we all have a lot of learning to do, especially with all the headlines today. So let's go. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, help me answer Dr. Patel's very tricky question.
Game on. This is my way to celebrate any day, but tell us which one of these is not true. Is it A, the federal transportation mask mandate was extended and is now set to expire on May 3rd? Or is it B, the Inspect IR, or Inspector, I don't know how you pronounce that, COVID-19 breathalyzer can test someone in 3 minutes, but is only about 70% accurate? Or is it C, Pfizer's booster for kids aged 5 to 11 showed a modest increase in antibodies against Omicron? Which one of these is not true?
Dr. Patel, all right, viewers, by the way, please tell me what you think it is. I know A to be true. Between B and C, although I'm not 100% positive, I'm going to say C is the lie because I think you played around with the age a little bit. So the answer is C. Oh, Osmond says A, but I'm going with C. Sorry, Osmond.
The lie is actually B. According to the trial put forward by the company, it was about over 90% accurate, which is actually kind of impressive for this test. We can talk more about that later. But you know what? A is true. That mask mandate is in place until May 3rd unless it gets further extended. And C, we can talk about later as well. This is Pfizer's early data. It wasn't the biggest trial, only 140 kids, but the results showed a great increase in antibodies. But again, there's a lot of questions and holes in their data, and I'm sure parents will want to know more.
You know, you got us all today because I'm looking at the responses and people all said A or C. Nobody picked B, so you got us.
It was too easy when I wrote it the first time around. You're way too smart for this, Kristen, so I had to dial it up.
No. But let's talk a little bit more about that breath test. This is the first, right, in terms of anything relating to a breath test. Exactly what is it measuring?
So what it's basically measuring is it's using something called essentially, it's called gas spectroscopy. And this is looking at particles in the air in your breath, and it's able to use that to then detect the same particles that would give you a signal for the coronavirus. And it can give you results in 3 minutes. Now, Christian, the important thing here, aside from the fact that it's not a PCR swab going up your nose, which is kind of uncomfortable, but in an early study, it was able to accurately detect 91% of cases that were positive and then correctly identify more like 99% of negative cases as well. So that's really good sensitivity and specificity. This is a trial of about 2,400 people. But the important thing for people out there to understand is that this is a test that would have to be done in a clinic, in a place with a healthcare professional, or possibly in a mobile clinic. But also the 3 minutes is kind of great. One asterisk is that even the FDA said that if there's a positive test, you should confirm that with the PCR, which kind of defeats the purpose of a really convenient test, but it could work wonders in terms of mass screening at something like a nursing facility or a healthcare clinic.
Okay. Let's also talk a little bit more about the one that I stumbled on, and that's the Pfizer new data with regard to the booster shot for kids 5 to 11. And that is, you know, we talked about the improvement in terms of the antibodies. Does that necessarily mean improvement in defense against, you know, COVID? And does that strongly suggest that kids in that age group should get it when it's actually, you know, their time?
Kristen, this is why you're brilliant. That's an insightful question. And that is the same question a lot of people who are looking at this press release, it's not peer-reviewed data, but the press release are asking the same question. So in a trial of 140 kids, what the Pfizer press release said is that they had a 6 times increase in antibodies. And in a subgroup, a sub-analysis of 30 kids, up to a 36 times increase in antibodies against Omicron. Now, this sounds amazing, but you cannot jump from that and then say that this has a direct translation to either vaccine efficacy or durability, how long it's going to last. Now, some proponents of the booster out there will say, hey, it does wonders in an older population. Perhaps we should bridge the data over to young kids. But I think this is going to be a long conversation for federal regulators to have before they go out and just recommend this, because we know in this population of 5 to 11, there's a lot more questions. There's a lot more hesitancy. Only 28% of this age group has actually gotten their vaccines. So perhaps that needs to be addressed before we start talking about boosters.
All right. And Dr. Patel, as you know, in the last 24 hours, California Department of Public Health announced that they're pushing back the vaccine deadline for California school kids as a school entry requirement, right? What does that suggest to you? And is that a good idea? Is that a setback, or is that the right thing to do?
You know, I'm just going to be completely candid. It strikes me as a worry that there might be some political pushback if we were to increase this vaccine mandate. Kristen, vaccine mandates are nothing new in terms of what kids need to go through K through 12. But this particular one has been so polarized. I can see there being some lawmakers who are hesitant to push that and worry about what the pushback that might be. I think it's too early to say if this is going to be something that's very detrimental, because we haven't seen hospitalizations rise. But I do worry what could potentially happen if cases were to continue to increase, if another variant shows up. And I think it's something that we're going to be closely monitoring. But like I said, we only have 28% of that age group, about 30 million kids age 5 to 11 who are vaccinated. So a mandate is probably not going to be a very popular option if that were to happen.
That's right. And they pushed it back to at least summer of next year. So that's where we're at. But you mentioned variants, so let's talk about it, right? The BA.2 variant that's more transmissible than Omicron has taken over. And now we're hearing there are several new subvariants that have evolved from that. How worrisome is this?
I think the concept of variants in general is worrisome, because as we know, if we continue to let the virus spread, it's going to do what it can to create a more transmissible version, which is exactly what we're seeing with not only BA.2, but the 2 subvariants of that, which were identified in New York. Now, all data right now suggests that BA.2 is more transmissible than Omicron, and the subvariants also have a growth advantage over BA.2. So that potentially translates into a lot more cases. But fortunately, as of right now, we are not seeing a correlated increase in hospitalizations. And there's no data to suggest that this is more virulent than Omicron, definitely not more virulent than Delta. But Kristen, as we know, we can't say for sure what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I also can't make any claims about long COVID either. So this doesn't mean that we can completely ignore case numbers if hospitalizations are not increasing. It just means that in 2 weeks, we'll know a little bit more.
Right. All right. I want to get to Carol's question. Carol wants to know, I got the J&J with a Moderna booster. What second booster should I get? I'm 67.
I would stick with the mRNA boosters if that's what you got for your, I believe her first booster is what, if I understood that question correctly. But stick with the mRNA booster, or if you have any doubts at all, chat with your health professional. But again, what booster is available to you is the best one you should get between Pfizer and Moderna. But mRNA sounds like a great option.
Okay. I want to get back to the idea that, more cases could be coming. This weekend, of course, we have the holidays, Easter, Ramadan, Passover. There'll be lots of gatherings. So what do you think people need to keep in mind? What is the safe thing to do? I mean, people are definitely going to gather.
Oh, we're the same rules generally apply. We're just in a much safer place than we were in 2020, which, by the way, I can't believe this is our 3rd Easter in a pandemic. We are in a much better place in terms of not only vaccine acquired, but natural immunity. But again, if you're symptomatic, if you're high risk, if you live with someone who's high risk and you're planning on gathering this weekend, it's perfectly reasonable to ask people around you if they're vaccinated, if you're meeting with people you don't know, or ask if people get tested. Those haven't changed at all. And we actually have access to these home rapid tests, which we should be using. I was symptomatic 2 weeks ago, meeting with friends. I knew we were all vaccinated. I still rapid tested myself, because people around you deserve to know if you're symptomatic and or positive. By the way, I'm dressed pretty festive for the weekend, in case you can't tell and can't see the bunny on my lapel.
Oh, yeah, our graphics are blocking the bunny. Oh, there you go. It's lovely. Happy Easter. Thank you, Dr. Patel. Always great to talk to you.
Likewise. Happy Friday, Kristen.
Our media partner at the San Francisco Standard spent 50 minutes grilling District Attorney Chesa Boudin. That is next. We'll be right back with more of the takeaways. All right, everybody, thanks for joining us. Dr. Patel really made it hard for us, didn't he? I think one of you got it right. Who was it? Marie, congratulations. All right, be right back with another interview. Welcome back. With his recall election less than 2 months away, San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin is stepping up his campaign to stay in office despite criticism of his approach to prosecuting crime. Public safety is one of the pillars of building a better Bay Area, and ABC7 and our media partner, the San Francisco Standard, both devote a lot of attention to the issue. Yesterday, the Standard's editor-in-chief, Jonathan Weber, sat down with Boudin for a long conversation, and Jonathan is here now to share some of the highlights from that interview. Jonathan, thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Kristen.
So I watched a lot of your interview with him. I definitely, you tell me, but I sensed a shift in tone from Boudin, from playing defense, if you will, to playing offense. Do you think so?
Well, yeah, he was certainly very combative, and he was very forceful in his main points about it being a Republican-funded recall, as he calls it. So he was certainly quite forceful in making the points that he wants to make about the campaign.
And I think that being kind of forceful and a little bit playing offense was also shown in this exchange. So let's play that.
The folks behind this recall are racist, they're anti-immigrant, they're anti-Chinese, and it is high time that people like William Oberndorf, who are bankrolling the recall, come out and put their mouth where their money is. I've challenged him to a debate. I want San Franciscans to hear what his vision for public safety is. Does it include locking kids in cages? Does it include the death penalty and ending sanctuary city for our immigrant neighbors? Let's hear from him what his real agenda is.
All right, unpack that for us. Who is he talking about bankrolling the recall? And then explain his, saying that they're basically anti-Chinese, because you definitely see a vocal group of Chinese Americans who are very opposed to Boudin as well.
Right. Well, I think that, I mean, one of the tricks when you're running in a recall is you're kind of running against no one. You know, you're running against an abstraction. And so it's kind of difficult to, it's a difficult spot to be in, because, you know, people don't really see the alternative. So I think what he's trying to do is to kind of create a sense of what is the alternative policies to what he's doing. And I think in the references to racism and such, he's really referring to the kind of the Trump Republican ideology, which is kind of racist, frankly, and to the extent that Trump has taken over the Republican Party, you know, that ideology is there. So I think he's referring to that. And then in particular, there are a group of very wealthy people led by this one individual, Oberstdorf, who have contributed a lot of money, and the recall would not be happening without that money. And so he feels strongly, and I can understand why, that the people who are giving the money need to stand up and say what they stand for.
Okay.
And that hasn't really happened to date. So.
All right. So other than just him trying to cast doubt on who's really funding this, you guys talked about a wide range of topics, from drugs to retail crime and property crime proliferation, and whether his diversion instead of jail approach for the majority of crimes, might be working. Tell me what your big takeaway is on those key issues that San Franciscans are so keyed in on right now.
Well, I mean, my broad takeaway about those issues, even aside from this interview, but, you know, these are very tough issues that have gone on for a long time. I think that, you know, I don't think that from my own point of view, I don't think he gave sort of great answers necessarily to what he thinks should be done there. But I think it's also the case that it's not really just up to him. As he pointed out, these are multifaceted problems, and many different city agencies need to be involved, including the police. So it's not just a DA issue. But, you know, I don't think he was very kind of persuasive that these problems are under control, which I think is what people want to see.
Yeah, he definitely did in your interview, I noticed, kind of shift the attention back to police. Did he admit to any mistakes or regrets, though, in the way that he has prosecuted or been out there that kind of led people to have this perception and for this recall to be happening?
Well, he did at the end. You know, he acknowledged, you know, some lessons learned. And that's one of the things I was trying to get at in the interview, honestly, is that, you know, the world has changed a lot since he was elected. And some of the views that people had on things like crime are rather different than they, you know, might have been a few years ago. So I was trying to get at, like, how has his outlook or policy shifted alongside the world changing? And I didn't see anything too dramatic there, to be completely honest.
Okay, and that just totally answered my question, because I think if you're a San Franciscan and you're deciding which way to vote, you would want to know, if he stayed in office, would he do things the same way? That is, continue his approach, or would there be somewhat of a shift? And you're not noticing much of a shift. All right. What do the recent polls?
I will say, if I could add,
of course,
Christine, I do think it's the case, that he has done what he said he was going to do, and so it's really a question of the electorate shifting. More if he were to be recalled, that would reflect not him doing something other than he said he was going to do, but rather people's opinions of those policies changing.
If he's recalled, who would most likely be appointed to replace him until the next regular election? Is it the sense that there will be someone very different?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't really want to speculate. I'm not very informed in terms of who might be named to that position if he were recalled, but I think we can be assured that it would be someone, a more traditional prosecutor with a more quote unquote law and order outlook, I think is likely.
And what do recent polls say about his chances at this point? We still have about 7 weeks, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a poll out there that indicates that he's going to lose badly, but that is, I'm pretty sure that poll actually originated with the recall campaign. So I'm not sure that was really actually an accurate poll. So I don't think we have a very good sense of public opinion on this. The school board recall was overwhelmingly for recall, and I think some people assume that the DA recall will be sort of similar dynamics. But I actually personally don't think that's the case, and I would expect it'll be a fair bit closer than that at a minimum.
All right, Jonathan Weber, thank you so much for sharing your very extensive interview with Chesa Boudin. I do hope folks will check it out, because we just kind of summarized, and that's all the time we had for. And thanks for looking into the crystal ball a little bit there for me. I probably didn't need to do that, but we're all wondering. So appreciate your insight always. Great talking with you.
Sure. Okay, thank you, Kristen.
All right, thank you. We do have links to the San Francisco Standard's other original reporting on our website, abc7news.com, and to watch more ABC7 segments featuring the San Francisco Standard's city-focused journalism, check out our ABC7 Bay Area streaming TV app. All right, next, happy 415 Day. We're celebrating one of San Francisco's birthdays. Yes, I said one of the city's birthdays. We'll explain that when we come back. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining us and sticking around. We'll take a short break so I can get ready for the next segment. And you definitely want to hear this one, because we got fun happenings in the city of San Francisco. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear San Francisco. Happy birthday to you. Okay, I've always wanted to do that. But the city by the bay turns 172 years old today, or perhaps on a different day. Confused? Don't be. Joining us now is author and travel blogger Stuart Shuffman to explain and to offer some ways to celebrate. Stuart, nice to see you.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Okay, so help us here because there are two dates associated with the birth of San Francisco, right? Today, April 15th, is one of them. So what happened on April 15th, 172 years ago?
Well, California became, it was officially incorporated as a city. And I'm sorry, San Francisco was officially, California city became.
Redo, rewind, start over.
San Francisco became incorporated as a city.
Got it. Okay. I never thought about it, but I mean, and I really should have because I've lived here forever. But the area code 415, is that how our area code came to be?
The people in 1850 definitely did that on purpose.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding.
Well, we didn't have phones.
I don't know how it came to be. I've never actually looked into that either, to be honest.
Right? I mean, I've lived here forever, so we got to look into that. Okay. But what's the other birthday the city celebrates? It's in June, right?
Yeah, June 29th, 1776. And actually, coincidentally, this is kind of crazy. I have a map here.
Oh.
You can see here the reflection, but it's
there you go. That's good.
North America in 1776. And if you can see California, like it's almost like they made up what it might look like. There's a whole, like in Canada, a whole ocean that doesn't even exist there. It's kind of cool. But
wow.
So June 29th, 1776 is when the Spanish colonizers first came here. It's also important to remember that we are on the ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone people, and they've not ceded that. So give them props to for in a way allowing us to be here, even though we were not invited.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in 1776, these Spanish colonizers came, and so that was June 29th. So some people say that is the founding day.
Got it. And, that's when they established the Presidio, right, of San Francisco.
Yes. But
okay.
As far as I'm concerned, we can party both days, like.
Why not, right? Absolutely. By the way, if we go by that June 29, 1776, then the city is 245 years old, even older, and it looks fabulous, darling. Okay, so what are some ways to celebrate? Is there something on social media?
I mean, there's, there was a few years ago, there was a huge celebration in 2016 for 415 Day, and it was a bunch of people. It was something started to kind of as a bringing up awareness to gentrification happening. There was a crew called the Solidarity Forever Celebration, and it was live music and partying going on in Dolores Park. So I know for a fact that people are kind of doing some celebrating for 415 Day, although it's a little odd, with the pandemic. But there's a bunch going on this weekend that's really cool. That's not necessarily part of it, but it's part of our many traditions that we have here. We have the Hunky Jesus contest happening in Dolores Park, put on by Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. And there is the great big wheel race that happens in Potrero Hill, also on Sunday.
Oh, okay. Both this weekend. That's a lot going on. What are some other cool events happening? I know this is a big weekend. We got the holidays, Ramadan, Passover, Easter. And really, this is kind of the first time out for the city, in 2 years, really, right, that they've been able to celebrate in this way. So what are some other cool things?
Not gonna lie, I was not prepared for this part of the thing. I thought I would just talk about the history. So I don't know.
I know you got tons of stuff on your travel blog.
I'm going to a Seder tonight, which would be cool because I've not been able to do Passover in person for a few years.
Okay, that is very cool.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you doing tonight?
What am I doing tonight? Oh, I'm probably going to watch the latest episode of Pachinko.
Ooh,
I don't know if you're watching that series. It is fantastic. But this is actually, there's also a social media component, isn't there, to the 415 celebration? Isn't there a way to show your love for the city or something using a certain hashtag?
Once again, no one told me about this either. Wow, I'm so sorry. It's just hilarious. Yeah. I imagine there's like 415 Day is the social media hashtag that I've seen around, showing love for the city. And I mean, but I don't know. I mean, I imagine just doing what you love and taking beautiful photos. Oh my gosh. Taking that up right now. So I don't know.
Totally not my intention to stump you. I just figure you know all, Stuart. But this is very fascinating history, and thanks for sharing that with us, and also great ways to celebrate San Francisco's birthday. Thank you so much, Stuart. Good to see you.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye. All right, folks, we'll take a short break and then be right back. All righty. Short break, short break. Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today on this interactive show, Getting Answers. We had Dr. Alok Patel on. He stumped us with two truths today. And we also had Jonathan Weber, editor-in-chief of the San Francisco Standard, with his interview, 50 minutes worth with Chesa Boudin. And you can catch all that via abc7news.com's link. We'll be here every weekday at 3 on air and on live stream answering your questions. Bye-bye.